am the devil, and I am here to do the devil's work.
God is dead!
I know it feels like to be God.
85% of the teenagers in high school have been exposed to hardcore Satanism.
Jesus wants me to live an abundant human life.
The blackest eyes.
I'm a king, man.
Fallen angels directly out of the bottomless pit, the demons of death and hell out of the bottomless pit, images of witchcraft, dark magic, torture, rebellion, and fallen angels. Satan's pretty cool. Where did I put that amulet? Oh, how did you get in here? And what is that glowing orb around your neck? Oh, there it is. Thanks, dude. Name's Rufus. Rufus Gloppy. You wanna hit this? No thanks. Suit yourself. Do you think you could do that outside? Totally. I get it. Banishing ritual. Sick. Well, nice to meet you. Catch you on the flip side. Now, if I could just find that amulet. Well, let's hope we never see that guy again. Greetings, fakers, and welcome to episode 17 of Fake Ritual, the podcast, your guide to pop culture and the occult. I'm your host, Lucas Sloppy, and I sat down for a talk with my friend, Jillian Fleckenstein. We get into some of our TV favorites of yore, by way of ABC's TGIF, Nickelodeon's Snick. We talk about Catholic upbringings and Genesis P-Orridge. Oh yeah, and how Chuck E. Cheese sucks. So strap in for a riveting convo with my friend, Jillian Fleckenstein. With me today is co-founder of Appalachian Oddities, as well as fellow freak and friend, Jillian Fleckenstein. What's up, Jill?
How's it going, Lucas?
Good. How have you been passing the time as of late in these final days, as the Christians would have us believe?
I've been doing a lot of cooking, actually. I'm working from home right now and also exploring more creative endeavors lately.
Have you been watching anything, binging anything?
Yeah, so I've been watching more TV than I probably should throughout
Hell
all
yeah.
this.
No shame on Fake Ritual ever. Watch it till your eyes bleed.
So yeah, actually, I rewatched at the beginning of the pandemic all of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel, and apparently there's a list online available where you can look it up because the episodes actually overlap. At one point, you're supposed to watch them in a specific order.
I love shit like that.
So I did that, which probably took a good 3 months, maybe a little bit longer.
Did it add up? Like, did you like how it all fit together as opposed to maybe how you saw it before?
It did fit together very well. However, I would say that I struggled to get through Angel. It's just not as good. So
Ooh, hot take.
it gets to a point where it's just hard to watch, at least for me.
Like cringy or just boring?
Yeah, just kind of both. It's just not as good. And the storyline isn't as strong, and they kind of go into some really cringy areas with some of the characters, specifically Cordelia and Angel's son. It's really weird.
Oh boy. Well, yeah, I've never been much of a Buffy fan. I feel like I've always struggled with the like WB production value. It's the same reason I never watched like Sci-Fi's Farscape or like the Stargate TV show, but I do think I'm ready. I think I'm ready for some like UPN level production value.
See, I wouldn't put Buffy on that level.
Okay. I'm slowly making my way to like, I got enough TV to watch. If heaven does exist, I think it might just be like a big TV set and like unlimited access to, all the streaming services in heaven.
What
except
have you been
Shudder, because it's
watching?
evil. I've been watching, there is a brand of anime that is like healing anime. Have you heard of this?
No.
I just started watching some stuff. It's called Iyashike. It's called Iyashike. And here I looked it up. Iyashike is Japanese for healing, a term used for anime and manga created with the specific purpose of having a healing or soothing effect on the audience. Works of this kind often involve alternative realities with little to no conflict, emphasizing nature and the little delights in life, which is a highly
Interesting.
recommended genre for the pandemic.
Also, I watched The Wonder Years from the beginning, and it was better than I remembered.
I always related to Kevin, but he is such a little like that one where he gets caught making fun of everyone behind their back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, what's that other when he doesn't want to be friends with Paul anymore, so then he makes friends with like the annoying kid who is like rich, so he has all this cool shit, but then I think he eventually realizes like, I don't actually like this kid, I'm just using him.
I do remember that episode, though, because that actor was also in the original It.
Oh.
Like the rich kid with all the fun toys and stuff that he was using. Yeah, he was in the original It.
And, well, speaking of, even in that episode, I do distinctly remember a horror scene. Kevin is having a dream, and they're, like, in the tent out in the kid's backyard, and I think it's like a ball pit, if I'm remembering this correctly. And, like, he starts sinking in the ball pit, the kid does, and, like, Kevin can't save him. I just remember it being really terrifying as a young person who was a big fan of ball pits.
I don't specifically remember that part, but that sounds great.
Yeah, it definitely
Terrifying if you're afraid of ball pits.
ruined Discovery Zone for me. Outright.
I remember Discovery Zone.
You do?
Oh, yeah, way better than Chuck E. Cheese.
Right? I lost a tooth at Discovery Zone, and I still
God.
like Discovery Zone better than Chuck E. Cheese. Though
Did you lose it in the ball pit?
Did I what?
Did you lose your tooth in the ball pit?
I lost it at from what I remember, I was 4. I guess I yelled as I was going down one of the slides, and my tooth caught on some of the webbing, some of the netting that they always had everywhere. And
Yeah.
It didn't rip it out, it just broke it.
Oh my God.
And then my mom, just it was some birthday party, and all my mom remembers is a worker there leading me crying, bleeding to her, mom's worst nightmare. And
I
then
guess they have to have really good insurance or something.
a place like that, absolutely. Or they have you sign a waiver that they don't even tell you about. But I do remember, very beautiful thing, she let me I put a note under my pillow for the tooth fairy saying, lost my tooth, but I swear I had one. And I still got money. I was like, that's a good little cheat.
I actually saw something the other day on a meme or something about how the tooth fairy is in a very, very occult-like entity.
Okay.
Whenever a child is leaving a bone offering for some kind of mythological creature to come exchange something in the night.
It's definitely growing up, evangelical and being warned of all the, kind of everything of the world was satanic. Especially something like Halloween, which is kind of obvious. But in a way, looking back, they were absolutely right that everything has an occult origin and you should be suspicious. Or they see it as something you should be suspicious of, but we just think it's cool. But they're right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything is satanic. Christmas.
I also think that the Tooth Fairy is much cooler if it's something,
That-
associated with the occult. It makes it that much more interesting.
I'm
why
sure-
leave that part out?
I'm sure some Wiccan parents, Wiccan mother, wizard father, have gone over and above to bring out the occult when it comes to the Tooth Fairy. Probably turn their kid into a Christian by doing so. It's my greatest fear as a possible future parent, is that I have a fucking square of a son or daughter.
Oh my God,
or,
yeah.
Or in between. Either way, just a fucking square would be the worst.
You'd almost rather than be a sociopath.
Where you been? The zone. Discovery Zone? Yeah, Discovery Zone. Once you're in the zone, it'll blow your mind. We're talking major green light adrenaline hammers, the vortex of brilliance you just gotta share. You can bring a friend, bud, close compadre into DZ, and they walk in free. Zero, zilch, absolutely nothing. We're talking two for the price of one. This is no rinky-dink where's my coupon offer. It's a deal around with blowout blitz. It'll have your friends begging for more. Discovery Zone. You're either in the zone or you're not.
So I take it you are a pop culture fan?
Absolutely.
What do you think it is about, pop culture, I guess, maybe to make it a broader category, fiction, storytelling, but also, I guess, that caveat of it having this mass appeal?
Yeah, so I feel like it's always it's a healthy escape.
Oh, yeah.
And a distraction from reality, which, obviously we all
What's wrong with
need
reality?
right now.
Is there something I should know about? Like, is it not cool or something? Is it like
Not like there's a pandemic happening or
riots in the street? Like,
possibly a civil war.
yeah, whatever. Reality.
But I do feel like, like anything else, it's a double-edged sword. There's, negative side to pop culture as well, and kind of, I guess, false idols.
Totally.
Celebrity worship. But that, goes into the whole idea of pop culture and the occult, right? It's all connected.
Yeah, like it's kind of like almost a way what I want Fake Ritual to exist for. At least one of the many things I'm trying to do is sort of make people understand that there is like something grandiose within this pop culture, but it's also like something you can play with. But let's just segue to let's just segue to where our love of pop culture began. And I know you watched a lot of TV growing up, and I definitely did. So what were you watching? What stood out?
So I was definitely watching The X-Files. That was definitely my favorite show whenever I was 8 years old. It freaked me out, but I really liked it. I was really into the idea of aliens being real. Also, like I said, I kind of liked the excitement of being scared, but I specifically remember a teacher, I think I was in 3rd or 4th grade, they asked me what I wanted to be whenever I grew up, and I was obsessed with Gillian Anderson because her name was also Jillian. But yeah, I told them that I wanted to be an aleontologist.
I love that. I don't even know if I've heard of ufologist or ufologist, but is aleontologist, did you get that from the show, or did you just put two together?
I totally just made that up
Ooh.
in like 8-year-old me brain.
And how did they respond?
They didn't think that was something I could actually be. They weren't believers. They weren't true believers.
Fuck that. I hate that shit. It's like a little kid saying he wants to be they let kids say they want to be astronauts. That's not very realistic.
Right?
Like, if you want to be an aleontologist, like, maybe that's where the real conspiracy starts. It's when we're all kids. Well, I definitely know that you were a TGIF fan and a SNCC fan.
Absolutely. I watched them religiously every Friday and Saturday night growing up.
Yeah, TGIF I think was on ABC.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and then Snick was on Nickelodeon the following night. Man, I get even just talking about it in any way gives me nostalgia, out the fucking wazoo.
Me too. And I get so nostalgic that I was babysitting a friend's kid a few years ago and making them watch all that.
Oh yeah, we got Josh Server, Lori Beth Dinberg, Kel Mitchell, Keenan Thompson.
What's her name? Amanda
Bynes.
Yeah.
Ask Ashley, that's me. And then she just went off the deep end. I was looking at some pictures of her today. I think she cleaned up though.
I hope she's all right.
I know. I didn't like that. I never feel good whenever, especially, I feel like female celebrities get, they're held to a different standard than male celebrities, you know?
Absolutely.
Charlie Sheen, they're like, yeah, whatever, looks like a fun guy. Britney Spears, they're like, whoa, what's wrong with her? I'm like, what the fuck do you mean is wrong with her?
Have you delved into the whole Save Britney conspiracy, Free Britney thing?
I have, and I do think there's something to it. She doesn't have...
Absolutely. I agree.
There's something to the fact that, she's been made, a ward of her father. Mm-hmm. It just all tracks. I'm like, of course that would happen. She's a cash cow. I read that, I think it was on her, maybe a 4th album or something, she wanted to use her real voice. Because her real voice is not the baby voice. Right. That was a voice they kind of, foisted on her in order to, we could get into an entire discussion about, the sexualization of children in Hollywood and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But I just thought that one hit me really hard. I was like, that's so sad that you're like, hey, well, can I sing how I like to sing? I have a pretty good voice. And they're like, nah, we want sexy baby.
Yeah, it's really freaky, but it's definitely one of the few conspiracy theories that I think is absolutely true. And her whole freak out where she shaved her head and everything, I think is still pretty badass.
I love that picture.
I hope she gets free.
Me too. But I would put that picture on an altar. The umbrella in hand, smashing the window, shaved head. I just see it and I'm like, yeah, I get it. I don't know exactly what was going through your head,
for sure.
But I've felt that.
Oh, yeah, I think we all have, honestly.
Well, yeah, with Snick we had Are You Afraid of the Dark?
That was my favorite, for sure.
That's another show where just even the intro will fucking give me chills.
I think I told you before that whenever I was a kid, kids from my neighborhood that I hung out with, we had our own midnight society type group, and we would hang out. We would take 50 cents or a quarter dues, and we would go to the local convenience store and get candy and snacks, and then we would use a portable grill and have a little fire and move it to each other's backyards or their back porches. And we would draw pictures of the monsters or ghosts that we created for our stories and stuff. It was great.
I love that. How many people? I bet a lot of people did that. Let me sound like an old man for a second. I don't think they make shows like that anymore.
They really don't. That's why whenever I was babysitting, I was showing kids all that.
Yeah, it definitely gave kids. I can't
stomach the stuff that is around now, honestly.
At least even all that showed you it's hey, kids at home, you want to do sketch comedy? Here's some people to look up to. Pretty diverse cast, considering the time period. And then even Are You Afraid of the Dark? That's what kind of held the whole show down, was this always return to the kids around the fire. So however floofy doofy the stories became, you could still come back to the community feel of everyone chilling and just sharing stories. But also, to move along a little bit, we talk about stories and everything, but we can never really forget the characters within these stories. So tell me a couple characters that you found yourself, always kind of coming up in your life that you always you felt connected to and still feel connected to.
Yeah, so I guess the first one that I can remember as a kid was Rogue from the X-Men.
Hell yeah. Now, did you get that from the Fox Kids cartoon?
Yeah, I was very much into the X-Men, Spider-Man series that was on at that time, and the Batman animated series, but the X-Men was definitely my favorite. And Rogue, I thought her character, like I remember as a kid even feeling like the depth of her character, because she had this intense longing for connection, but she wasn't able to touch other people because she was afraid to harm them, because she would absorb their powers, and so she would only use it as a necessity or as a tool. But with her relationship with Gambit, it's like one of the ongoing stories throughout that series where he's totally accepting of like how she is and the fact that she can't touch, but she is so terrified of harming somebody that she cares about.
Oh yeah, Gambit was always my guy. I think he was debonair, which I never was. He had a duster on, which
super cool.
I never owned. He had a bow staff, which I think growing up was like one of my favorite weapons because it was the easiest one to find in your own house. Just a broomstick, and there you go. And his power was, what I found out later, technically his power is to convert kinetic energy to convert potential energy into kinetic energy. So anything he touches, he can turn into a bomb, essentially. But now that I think of it symbolically, kind of like you are with Rogue, it really is like, I guess, yeah, he is able to see the potential in things and, turn them into something that serves him. Actually, it would be a great episode to really just break down like the occult extractions we could make from, the X-Men kids series. Again, scare all the Christian parents who
absolutely
let us watch it.
It still holds up though. I watched it again, the whole series, a few years ago as an adult, and it's really good.
Yeah, it's like I watch it and I can't believe like it was for kids. It's pretty like plot heavy.
I feel like people don't give kids enough credit. I feel like kids can handle plot heavy. They can also handle things in reality that are really heavy too, and they're just not given enough credit. And we've moved kind of towards, I guess, I don't want to say babying, but we kind of are so obsessed with keeping them completely shielded from anything that might, cause some kind of anxiety or stress or sadness or something. But, those emotions and experiences are something that are important. Yeah,
and they're going to find it anyways, so it kind of
Absolutely.
just makes them have to do it on their own, which is never really a good, like, it just leaves room for way more mistakes that are really going to, like, may very well haunt you.
Totally.
But I mean, I can't act like my mom was in the room being like, "What are you watching?" Oh, well, let's discuss violence on TV. But I definitely feel what you're saying. It's just like, there's definitely, you watch old shows and you're like, "Oh, they couldn't put this out now." Like, no way.
No other night. Tonight. No other place. Here. No way to stop it. Slick. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome.
You are now sneaking.
I know you grew up really Catholic, so I'm going to guess that wasn't a great experience, but give me a little insight into what that was like. My evangelical ass never. I think I went to one mass, and I was bored to tears.
Yeah. So I don't have the experience of the evangelism, so it's like I can't relate to that excitement, I guess, with religion.
Yeah, no speaking in tongues.
Yeah.
I never spoke in tongues either. Damn. I'm getting there though.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let me know when you do.
I can't wait to for my Christian mom to find out that I'm speaking in tongues, but like to Satan.
To the devil.
Yeah.
So my family was very active in the Catholic Church. I was forced to go to CCD, which is basically like Sunday school, from the time I was 5 till I was 13. And at that point, I also was an altar server. So basically, I would assist the priest in Mass and like hand over the chalice and fill it with wine and light candles and carry a cross. And it was very ceremonial and ritualistic. And there were like rules that you had to do and genuflections and things like that.
Yeah, it's like you take the perverted priest out of it, and it's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, it can be. It can be. If you take out the priest and you take out God.
Yeah, that's a big pervert right there. That dude's. I heard he watches you when you masturbate. I'm like, what?
But you're not allowed to do that. You're going to hell.
You're gonna go blind.
So I was an altar server for 4 years, and then whenever you're 13 in the Catholic Church, you are supposed to have this ceremony. It's called confirmation, where you basically are supposed to dedicate your life. You're supposed to commit yourself to the church because you're considered an adult in the eyes of the Catholic Church. At that point, I had too many questions. I knew that it wasn't for me. And so I made the decision, and it was actually supported by my mother, that if I wasn't into it, that I didn't have to do it anymore. So I dropped out of CCD right before I was supposed to make my confirmation. And
Beautiful.
And at that point, I promptly dedicated myself to be extremely anti-Catholic and very much goth.
But wouldn't it have been a little bit more anti-Catholic if you got all that confirmation money and then quit?
You know what? I should have been thinking about.
I think I've had some friends that they've had that exact. They're like, oh no, I got confirmed because I knew you got a lot of money. that rules.
Yeah, it makes sense. For me, one of the things that freaked me out the most was I was told that animals didn't have souls.
God, that one hurt too.
Yeah, but it couldn't be explained to me. I don't know. There were just so many questions and no answers. But I just have a lot of resentment at this point surrounding the church. But I did develop, I think, a love or appreciation for ritual at that time. Like I said, with the ceremonial lighting of the candle and the drinking of the wine, and all these all the symbolism involved.
All the stuff my church said was why Catholics were bad, because of the idolatry and the just like you're not supposed to be so showy about it. But I was always, the older I got, the more I was kind of tantalized by like, whoa. Like, now anytime I see a Virgin Mary statue.
Too, with like the swinging incense burners with the billowing smoke and the smell and... Like a mass in Latin? Come on. My church was just speaking in tongues, which is, like, despite what they claimed, not a language. But Latin. What language is it supposed to be?
It's supposed to be like a forgotten language, or maybe sometimes I was like, is it supposed to be Aramaic or something? But it's always just like consonants. It might even just be like, it's supposed to be nonsense, but then, in our church it would be like, you had gifts of the Spirit, which, there was like, I think it was in the Bible, there was like anointing and healing, and then speaking in tongues, and then interpretation of tongues. So, we'd have a praise and worship service, and it'd get, the part where the band's just kind of jamming and everybody's lifting their hands and like feeling it, and then someone would just start speaking in tongues, which I can't even do an impression of. I want to try. It's like like it really is just a string of consonants, like, and some people could do it better than others, but then somebody would then interpret that like into a message from God.
Do you think that's how they made the Bible?
I probably. I mean, I've read some of it, and some of it don't make no sense. Yeah, it was just wacky, but the wackiest part was just like how normal it was. Which I guess probably
I appreciate absurdism, but...
Yeah, they didn't really have a sense of irony at the time. Well, yeah, after those Catholic days, did you find yourself, did the supernatural continue to find its way into your life?
Absolutely. So I guess the supernatural had always been a part of my life. I saw and communicated with beings that nobody else could see whenever I was very young. One of my earliest memories was communicating with some kind of entity in my grandparents' house. And also having an imaginary friend who lived in the backseat of my mother's car.
Oh, whoa.
But
do you remember their name?
yes.
It's their name?
I don't know its name, but I felt like it protected us in the car.
Oh.
So the spirit that lived in the car was good. And it looked like the cartoon nerd on the candy box.
Whoa. It's really cute.
Yeah.
I love those little nerds, yeah. It's actually, I've been thinking about that more lately, the fact that, like, you're eating them. That's what's supposed to be happening. Like, they put on the label these cute little, like, funny little amorphous blobs. Then you're just, like, chomping them.
Absolutely. Oh, that's kind of creepy.
Yeah. Even the way they, like, the consistency of them, it is kind of like they have little bones that you are just crushing. Oh, poor little nerds.
The temple strives to end personal laziness and engender discipline, to focus the will on one's true desires, in the belief gathered from experience that this maximizes and makes happen all those things that one wants in every area of life.
But yeah, what else? Any other supernatural thingy,
Yeah.
Mina?
Yeah, so, I kind of had that experience as a child, and then, I left the Catholic Church and became more interested in witchcraft and cults in general. And I guess whenever I was 16 or 17 years old, so I moved away from home whenever I was 16, had my first apartment. I lived with a bunch of 20-something dudes who are all nerds. And one of my roommates came home after attending a concert of a band, Psychic TV, at a venue that is no longer there. It was in Garfield, and it was called The Eye. It was also an occult shop.
Man.
What's that?
The Eye. I'm just like, man, that's definitely not there anymore.
Yeah, it was so cool. It was in this old warehouse on Penn Avenue in Garfield, in the early 2000s, maybe the late 90s, early 2000s.
Oh, I stand corrected. There is, I think it's called Arts and Crafts Occult Supply in Garfield now.
Oh, yeah.
On the corner of Matilda and Penn. And
I have been there, actually. That's probably one of the better occult shops locally.
Yeah, her social media is fucking, it seems really fun too, and I fucking hate serious occultists. I like people that at least like you know, ooh, look, a naked candle. Isn't that fun? Like, yeah, it is fun. But anyways, back to where we were. That was just a quick plug for Arts and Crafts, Occult Supply in Pittsburgh,
check
PA.
it out. But yeah, so my roommate had gone to this psychic TV show and came home and handed me this book and was like, you have to check this shit out. It's up your alley. And it was a collection of artwork, photos, and writings of Genesis Breyer P-Orridge, who was in psychic TV, but also the creator of a cult called the Temple of Psychic Youth.
Yes.
But yeah, so Genesis P-Orridge, I became obsessed with this person and, you know, delved into this black hole of the Temple of Psychic Youth and the idea of sigil, chaos, sex, magic, and them kind of encouraging people to, I guess, explore experiences outside of the norm, kind of deconstructing everything that was considered beautiful or normal in the realms of art and music and gender and sexuality and
humanity.
religion.
I heard for the Temple of Psychic Youth, you know, after this is also one of the founding members of Throbbing Gristle, like one of the first industrial bands. But after that, when they founded Psychic TV in conjunction with the Temple of Psychic Youth, I from what I understand, they would have people like at a certain set time, you know, maybe the 11th hour of the 11th day of the month, they would have people do their own artwork, knowing full well that they were going to send it to one of the like Topi, Temple of Psychic Youth centers for it to just be archived. So it was like art
Correct.
to be made to not be seen, which kind of imbued it with this very deep, true creative force, as well as all the cum and blood and spit and piss that they were also
I
supposed to put on
have
it.
actually handled some of these archives myself. I have
Hand
friends
sanitizer,
who,
please. Sorry.
yeah, so like you said, they would create this art, but also like charge it by having an orgasm. A lot of the time, they thought that it would change, you know, the vibration, I guess, of the universe and cause some kind of universal chaos by having, say, 10,000 people simultaneously orgasm at the same time, which is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I actually have friends. One in particular, my friend Wendy, lived with Genesis for years in California, was in Temple of Psychic Youth and like the inner circle of it for over 20 years, and had some of the archives that were not destroyed by the British government.
Yes. Genesis had to flee, I think in the 70s because of like, you know, they get their money from, you know, all the artists get their money from the government and from the Queen, and so like the performance art they were putting on, which involved like blood enemas and piss enemas and eating your own vomit and pornography and serial killers. I don't think the Queen's into that stuff. Well, isn't quote unquote into that stuff, right? Am I right?
Yeah, so what you're talking about originated from Comb Transmissions, was a project, an early project of Genesis Breyer P-Orridge in the 70s with Cozy Fanny Tootie, who was another performance artist, and a few other of their co-conspirators, I guess. And they actually had an exhibition in a museum near the palace, and the British government tried to shut them down, and they occupied the space until they were arrested, and then they were called destroyers of civilization.
Man, the squares do have a way with words. I will say that. They tell us that we're way cooler than we actually are.
It's true. But Genesis is really fucking cool. And yeah, their whole I guess the basis of their art was based off of this cut-up method that was developed by two other artists. I'm sure everybody's familiar with William S. Burroughs, but probably not as familiar unless you're into this weird psychic TV, throbbing gristle, black hole like we are. But Brian Geisen,
Yes.
basically it started by taking pieces of writing, cutting out words, rearranging them, putting them back together, but it could literally be applied to anything.
I believe Brian Geisen was like cutting up something on newspaper, with an X-Acto, maybe like for a collage or something, and then he saw the pieces of paper and kind of they had shifted and formed these like really powerful sounding nonsensical phrases that even when you read them, they do kind of feel like they're like unlocking something. Like you feel this like, oh, that is really powerful, but also like, what is it? And William S. Burroughs kind of like took it into writing with his automatic writing, kind of trying to get yourself into a place where you're just kind of like stream of conscious. But and also they took it to their own body when they met their partner, Lady J, and decided to turn into the same person and kind of, in a way, take the human body, cut it up, mix it up, and then bring, something, meaning from it that, wasn't there before you took a knife to it, literally.
Right. So that's what Genesis did, was basically take this cut up method into practice, and they used it, like you said, in their music, but also on their own bodies. They and their partner, Lady J, believed that they were two halves of the same entity, and so they went from being individuals to becoming a we. And until Genesis passed earlier this year, they still, even though Lady J had dropped their body, Genesis, continued to embody the spirit of Lady J as well. But it was kind of a statement against gender. They called this project the Pandragine, which was representative of like a higher self, the way that people originally were, not male and female. I actually saw a lecture by Genesis years ago, and they read a Sumerian text where they were talking about this origin story, where it kind of reminded me of Hedwig and the Angry Inch. As well, of like the one being split into two and then rejoining.
It's kind of, and it was definitely before transgenderism, which I'm never sure if that's supposed to be called an ism, but before that kind of came into the like forefront, before people knew what that term was, but like Genesis was not only putting that out there into the world, but adding this sort of like magic to it, this transcendent nature to it. I don't know if you're familiar with the trans porn star Bailey J. They're like also an occultist. I've listened to some podcasts with them, and they definitely even see themselves as kind of a Baphometic like being, simply because of like the two genders coming together, existing as this like this one, opposites joined together, which I'm like, fuck yeah. If only I could feel like Baphomet, but instead I just feel like Gambit from the X-Men. I want to thank you again for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Is there any... it's promo time. I mentioned Appalachian Oddities at the top of the show. Tell the people about that. Tell the fakers about that, and then where they can find you.
Cool. So pre-pandemic, my biologist friend Kate Sweeney and I decided to invest in supplies and start learning how to do taxidermy. So we've been combining our love of science and creepy shit we've since launched Appalachian Oddities, which is an online shop currently. You can find on our Instagram page at Appalachian Oddities. It's the link in bio. Yeah, we're doing sustainable taxidermy, still a learning process, but we're also offering other creepy creations while we continue to learn. And we're also currently on Etsy as Oddities of Appalachia, but we're trying to veer away from them in the future. We've had a couple of issues. So.
Well, good to know. Fuck yeah, taxidermy. That's pretty badass. That's a pretty big undertaking, but I've seen some of the stuff you've done, and I fucks with it. And I think the fakers will too. They have to. Or they can get out of here. Go hang with the fucking squares.
Yeah,
oh my! I'm so mean to my listeners, but I think
we
they know
love
where
you,
it comes from.
fakers.
Yeah, I like you guys. I'll say that much. Well, as parting words of wisdom, thank you again, Jill, for being on the show. And fakers, be sure to what can I reference? Just watch a lot of TV. And don't feel bad about it.
A lot of psychic TV.
And a lot of psychic TV. Ooh. Wow. We did it. That's it. All right, everyone. So long. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. The show is produced by me, Lucas Sloppy, with music provided by Johnny Arlett, and an intro created by Will Marshall. Follow us on social media at Fake Ritual on Instagram and Facebook, and at Fake Ritual Blog on Twitter. Please rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes or wherever else you get your podcasts. And seriously, please, that shit helps a lot. You can also email us at fake.ritual.inc@gmail.com if you have any interesting stories you want to tell, or any collaboration ideas, or just want to say hi to me or that other guy that I found in here. I think his name was Doofus? Anyways, this is your host, Lucas Loppy, signing off, telling you to once again go fake yourselves.